We're here at 1552 AF Highway. This is my father, Glenn Gilbert, and my sister is here, Dawn Bristow, and my mother, Shirley Gilbert, and I'm Damon Gilbert, and we're about to interview my father. It is one day after Thanksgiving. It's the 28th of November on 2008. So we're going to start with this question. All right, now if I can read it. Okay, we're going to begin at the beginning. Growing up, where and when were you born?
I was born in Sullivan, Missouri, right into town, and it was January 3rd, 1937. And Mom said it was one of the coldest winters we've ever had, and I guess that's why I kind of like winter so well.
Were you born in the house?
Uh-huh.
You were?
Sure
you
was.
were born at home?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Everybody was born at home back then.
Who was your doctor?
Dr. Royce.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Royce?
Yeah.
From Sullivan?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Is he the one that filled out your birth certificate?
Yes.
I mean, they did it at the house.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how they did
Yes.
that.
I assume they did.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Grandma said.
Yes.
Was Don born at home too? Everybody was.
Yes, everybody was born at home.
And you have two siblings, right?
Yes, I have a sister, Faye. She's 2 years older than I am. And I have a brother, Don, that's 9 years older than I was. They're both dead now.
Mm-hmm. Where did you grow up at?
I grew up in Sullivan, but we did for about 2 or 3 years moved out inside of town about 3 miles. It was a little farm, about 30 acres. It was during the Second World War, and you didn't have any gas. Or
what date were
anything,
that? What
it would have been around 19. I would have probably been about 4 and 5, so I'd make 37, 39, 40, about 43 to 46.
You where did you live at originally? Where was your first address?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
No, I don't. It's up there by Russell Street in Sullivan, up down that up over a little bitty hill. You can't even see the house unless you pull up and go down to see it.
Really? I'll be darned.
Dad, they rented it. Of course, everybody rented back then, you know. And
then you moved out in the country. And then you moved back to Virgil Street. Or I mean to.
We moved up when we left the Bivens farm, which was what they called
Bivens.
it.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
When we left that, you folks know about it because you was out there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We spread my sister's ashes out there because she fell in love with that place. She just really liked it.
Now, how long were you there at the Bivens farm?
We was there about, I guess 3 years probably.
Mm-hmm.
I know I grew up, I was 4 and 5, and I just absolutely loved it. I had a dog, and Mom was there during the day, and it was a wonderful way to grow up. I really enjoyed it, and I can always remember, I always look forward to dinner, because we'd get to share a dip candy bar. I don't know why it stays with me.
No kidding. That's cool.
Yeah, and so we was the only ones there all day, you know, because Faye was already in school and I wasn't, you know. So me and Rex, we had a hell of a good time.
and Grandpa worked International Shoe
yes,
then?
He did. He worked International Shoe, and it was tough, just barely enough gas to get back and forth because everything was rationed during the Second World War, you know. And he raised hogs and chickens.
Really?
I didn't know that.
He had a cow for milk, a couple of cows, June and somebody, you know, how they made them, you know. And we raised baby chicks and sold eggs to the Farmers Exchange. And I guess actually Mom and Dad probably had more money then, if they ever did have any money. I mean, enough, a little more to get by then because they had produce, you know, and it was a wonderful time. I really enjoyed it.
Now, did you guys have a big garden?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. Had corn, you know, and it was down in back of the, you remember where the house back where it was, then back of it, there was a big cornfield, and Dad always did down that. And I tell you what I did. When I was young, every morning, I'd take 2 rocks and I'd walk. You know, nobody'd do that anymore. We walked all the way around that cornfield, me and Rex, you know. It must have been, from here to the road, you know. Hell, it's 4, you know. And I was going to throw a rabbit, you know, jump them every day.
Probably the same rabbit.
Yeah, and I'd go down, and I had a little pole in the water on Stater Creek. Had a safety pin on it. I'd check and see if I got something every morning.
Every morning.
Yeah,
Isn't that cool?
yeah,
That was Stater Creek?
yeah. Yeah, and that was a wonderful time. I tell
Yeah.
you.
How many years?
Oh, 2 or 3.
2 or 3 years. And you ended up, time you went to school, you
Yeah,
were back
well,
in...
the first year when I went to school, we didn't go to kindergarten, of course, you know.
Right.
So me and Faye, we'd come in with Dad. It was really unhandy. We'd come in at, if he had to go to work at 7, so we got up, I don't know when the hell it was, 5 o'clock, 5:30, because he had to feed and everything, you know. And so we'd have to stay in the car till time to go to...
Really?
Yeah, so it was...
Then you walked from International Shoe up to school.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way we done it for a while. And then finally, after so long a time, and you know, I can't remember these details of moving, but then we moved up by Midwest Shoe. You know where that is? A little house across from, right down from Midwest Shoe. And we lived there for about 2 years, I guess. And that's when Marianne Vogelsang was right across from us, and we've got to be big friends with them, you know. And then a couple other friends, Smiths was down there, Paula Smith and her brother. And it was a fun little place. And then after that, then we moved on Euclid Street. Down kind of where...
By Thurman's?
Yes, down that way. And we was there till 48, which would have been another 2 years or so. And then we moved over on Mansion Street where
Okay.
where the grandpa and grandma were all the time, all the years.
So you lived in that house when you were, when you were a teenager?
Yeah, when I was I was moved over there in 48, so I'd made me 11 when I moved
No kidding.
over.
50 North Mansion.
50
So was
North.
Don already graduated and gone when you guys moved there? Or?
Don was
In jail?
no, he probably should have been. But, he was. This was during the time of the Korean War. Then, see, and Don knew that he was going to probably get drafted if he didn't volunteer. So he volunteered in 1951 or 2 for the Air Force, and Don left then, and I didn't see Don for 3 or 4 years, you know, except for just about a week at a time, you know. So my formative years, I didn't have an older brother, you know. He was not there, you know, and it was just me and Faye, you know. So I guess that's one of the reasons Don and I were never really close. We had too much separation,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, with the way Faye and I we were very tight.
Right.
Yeah, but Don finally came back, and in I guess it was 54 probably, somewhere around there, because it was my junior year when he came back.
Really?
Yeah, and then he went to work at Ramsey again, where he had been working before then. Then he finally got married to Shirley Jean Smith, you know, and then moved out, of course. And, so that's kind of how the family situation worked, you know.
Yeah, because he was quite a bit older. How much older
He was
was
9 years.
He's 9 years older. than you.
Sure was.
Okay, well, who were your parents?
My parents was Jewel Gilbert and Virgil Gilbert.
And Virgil.
And
What was your mom's maiden name?
her name was Carr.
Really?
C-A-R-R.
I
Yeah.
thought it was triplet. How did I?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean...
Her
mother's
name
her mother's
was
name was
Carr.
Carr.
That's
I'm
what
sorry.
I
Okay,
meant.
okay.
Oh,
Her
okay.
name was triplet.
I beg your pardon. Yeah, it was triplet.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Of course, yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
okay.
see, I was going back one.
Yeah.
That's
too
why.
far.
That's why Judy's kind of related to you a little bit.
Yes. Some
Her mom's
through the
related.
novels.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how
Yeah.
Marty used to figure that?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, and we know how Grandpa was. It says, what were your parents like?
It kind of hurts me to talk
Yeah, he
about
can't.
that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll move along.
His mom was a very nice woman.
Oh, yeah,
Very
well,
sweet.
Grandpa-
And so was Grandpa.
And
Yeah,
Grandpa
it's
was
just,
most of the time.
He had some health problems.
Yeah, he had
you know.
health problems.
Well, sure he did. Yeah, well, I remember many of them.
Yeah.
Going down there to St. Louis when he had the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
And
did
he was the world's worst patient.
Yeah.
Oh God! Yeah, that's no kidding. What did you get into trouble when you were a kid?
Not at all. I was too afraid of my dad.
Uh-huh.
I was.
Yeah.
I would absolutely not do anything that I knew he would be mad at me for. So I.
'Cause you'd seen him-
I walked the line.
You'd seen him pay Don pay the price, I
Yeah.
guess.
I walked the line.
Yeah.
I was.
Well, what was the worst thing you ever did?
I'll have.
He didn't do anything.
I'll have to say I never
No.
did
He
do
didn't.
anything.
He didn't
I
do
was,
anything.
I was too afraid he would really give me a hard time.
Yeah.
Tell him about your working.
Yeah, when
started
did you
work.
get a first
Yeah,
job?
when did you get
'Cause you
one?
were
Yeah.
young,
Well,
weren't you?
yeah,
10.
I was about 10.
And what did you do?
Me and my good friend Dale Thurman, which we were really close for 3 or 4 years, and we got a job through they call it the Sullivan News, which is a weekly paper. And he needed somebody to do a few of things, cleaning up and folding the papers and that kind of stuff. And Roy Tiefenbrunn had worked there first, and we kind of come in there behind him, and Mr. Harmon just kind of let us do it, I guess, you know. And then Roy went on down to another store. There was another paper. There was 2 papers at the time: the Tri-County Democrat and the Sullivan News. And Roy went to the Tri-County Democrat and left me and Dale kind of with him. And what we would do, we would come in and fold papers. You know, you have to fold them, you know, to get them in the mail. That's the way you did it. You sent them out, you know. And
So you didn't ride a bike?
no,
Didn't do
No,
that?
this was every
is a
day.
weekly
Just
thing. They'd
folding,
come.
okay.
You would go in on Wednesday night and fold. They call them fold inserts. That's the 2 parts. It's generally 8-page paper, except for November and December when they really raise up. You know how they always do. But most of the time it was a 2-night deal. We'd go in on Wednesday night and fold inserts, and then we'd come back Thursday and fold the whole paper. Then you had single wrap. You know, it was kind of involved. You know, you had to paste it all and wrap them so it was going to maybe.
Did they put string
Kansas
around?
or something.
Did they print string
Yeah,
around?
tape.
Oh, you had tape.
It's taken.
And then we would. Another thing we'd do, we'd heat the metal. It was lead and zinc combined. You were 10 and 11 years
No
old.
shit.
I can't
Yeah.
believe that. You know.
Seriously?
But
Yeah.
Carl, Mr. Harmon, he'd help us get it going. You know, we'd heat this thing. It's a great big thing to look like a casket. You know, and you'd heat it up to about probably however much a gas thing would do, which would probably be 300, 400, 500 degrees, and get it so hot, and you just turn it up like this, and then you'd heat your stuff over here, your metal, and you'd dip it into this, and it had a map on it. It would be perforated, raised and everything to make. They call them mats, and to make advertisements like Ford Motor Company and everything,
Really?
that kind of stuff. And you'd pour it in there, and you had to do it so fast and everything, so it wouldn't be layered, you know. And you had to do it so it wasn't slick. And you'd finally pull it back down, and it was hotter than hell, you know. And you get it out, and it wasn't good. So you had to do the whole thing over, but you always knew what the second one was going to take. For some reason, the moisture in it, it's that kind of deal. But that stuff was so hot, you know, and you just knew how much to do it. You put it in there and count 5, and if it wasn't burnt and it was brown, it was all right, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be darned.
And here we were.
You could have
Well,
burned
kids.
yourself.
You know,
Oh my
I
God.
think back, I thought, my God, what?
Yeah.
We could have got killed, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But nobody thought anything about it, you
Yeah,
know.
so just go do that.
Yeah. And then we'd clean space bands for his line type. It's a typewriter that's done with metal, you know. It was really kind of cool. Did you ever see a line type? Yeah. You type on it down here, and this thing, you'd have a galley. It comes over here and slide it out. What you just printed, you know, on metal, you know. It was so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you get your galley and take it over there, and somebody proofread. You'd run off a thing, and you'd proofread, and then you'd change it, you know, if it was spelled wrong or anything.
No
It was
kidding.
quite involved, really.
That was for 1 week's paper.
Yeah, 1 week's paper,
paper.
done the same thing every week, you know. Yeah.
But tell them what
Hey,
time
I got
you
a
went
question.
to work.
Will you turn out for just a second?
Uh-huh.
I want to ask a question. Okay.
And then the deal was, though, they may not get it started till 11:30 or 12 at night.
Oh my gosh.
So here we were, you know, this age, you know, we'd kind of lay around, maybe sleep just a little bit, you know, damn noise and everything going on, everything running around. And then you have the press in the inside. Big thing about from here to there that ran that you put your paper in, this big, you run it in, and it roll around and, you know, and print, and it slide it out and drop it there, you know, slide it out
Really?
and drop it. Then you'd get them from over there, and then you'd work on them. Then you'd do the folding, you know. Then you'd take them over to the guy that's hitting the addresses over here, and
My gosh.
but the trouble is, it was so late. You didn't know when it was going to be. Then when you got done with all that, then you had to do the single wraps, you know, which is probably 100 of them. Then you had to paste them all in, roll them up, you know. Then you take it over to the mailbox, to the post office at night, 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30, you know, at night.
And go
you know,
to
to
school.
do
And
that.
then you got them go to school.
Then we got them going to school. Yeah. But Carl Harmon, he's a good Democrat, you know, and I'll always really proud of this. On November 4th or 5th, you know, in 1948, he wanted me and Dale to pass out things early in the morning for Harry.
Oh really?
So it was colder than hell that day.
Oh, I
tell you, the
bet.
wind was blowing, and I tell you, we got up so early and went up there, you know, and done that, and we won, of course. You
Yeah.
know, and I always felt, well,
I
I kind
had
of
something to
helped.
do that.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Wow.
So then on Saturday-
how much did you get paid to do this?
Well, I guess I made $3 a week, you know, but with
That was
that,
quite a bit.
Yeah.
then I could get my hair cut, and I could I'd buy my own clothes.
He always bought his own clothes.
And put coats and lay away and pay for them. You know.
Wow.
And
So you're pretty self-sufficient by
indeed,
then.
Yeah.
indeed. And I guess that's the reason. That's the way I've always been.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did you work at the paper then?
Oh, I guess not until I was 13 or
Really?
14. You know, something like that. Yeah. Dale quit. He was, you know, grow up, you get
Sure.
busier and everything, you know, and but that's about all I ever done. You know, I never did do nothing very exciting, you know, up there, but they just needed somebody to do this
Well,
stuff,
sure.
you know. And you'd clean up in the morning, on Saturday mornings. You go up there, we'd both sweep out and clean things up and put the drippings of that metal back in there and heat it up and get
Start
it
over
yeah,
again.
and get it all squared.
So they
away
kept
for
using
next
it
week.
over and over
Oh
again,
yes,
yeah. Mhm.
you just put it in there and it just melt
Melt it
around.
back
Yeah. So it was quite an operation. But Mr. and Miss Harmon, they was our bosses. Bless their heart. Yeah.
So when you went, obviously you went to school after that. Did you like school?
Not very well. I wasn't much. I wasn't a very good student. I really wasn't. I wish. I really wish I would have applied myself.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I was into baseball and basketball, and naturally a kid. You know,
Sure.
That's the only thing you do then. During the summer, we'd spend all our time at the ballpark. You know, that was the only thing there was to do. You know, and I didn't. Everything centered around the ballpark because we had teams, we had leagues. They had a Frisco softball league on on Friday night. Might have 12 teams in it, you know.
Oh my
Really?
gosh.
So you'd go up there at 6:30 and they'd turn the lights on, and they would probably be 3 games, you know. And that was the big deal. Now on Sunday, the town team would play up at the ballpark. Sounds so fruit now, but they and hell, the stands would be full. But this is 1948.
Yeah.
See, there was no television, there was no nothing.
Right.
And I tell you, they was some real athletes. They was really good, and they would play Edgar Springs and different places, all of Newburgh, you know, all them places, all over the place, you know, and everything. And it was so naturally that was kind of. that was kind of our place to hang out up there. And
Now, at that time, did they have a Corey League? Did they have kids
No.
leagues?
No.
No, it was only.
Didn't
Okay.
even, didn't even
went
know
out
the
and
guy
played.
named Corey yet. That was-
we would go up there and play ourselves.
Sure.
They used to have a thing they called Indian ball with 3
Played it
guys
many
on a
times,
team, you know,
yeah. Mhm.
and play that. And then every once in a while they'd have enough guys that you'd get up a team, you know, and play a game, you know. No umpires, no nothing like that, you know, just battle it out, you know, and that was really a fine way to grow up. We always had our bikes. Boy, we had to have our bike. I had a $15 used bike. I tell you, I rode that damn thing a million miles.
And Mr. Harmon's the one that kind of got Bill Hillman to work with you and Dale, wasn't
Yes,
it?
he was the one.
When
He
you
said
started playing
he said
baseball.
he's got a couple boys that do pretty good, you know, Bill, and I think you ought to try to get a team going, you know. And he was really instrumental in us.
Wow.
Really?
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that
So
something?
Bill done that, and we was the original Corey League.
Right.
Us
Yeah.
in 1948.
Wow.
Sure was. And the following year, Turnbull Chevrolet give us our uniform. You know?
Ooh!
Damn right.
We wasn't very good, but it was fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah. What Turnbow? Turnbow
Turnbull
Chevrolet.
Chevrolet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was about that was my big first job. You know?
First job.
Uh-huh.
Well, did you worked down at the park though for?
Yeah, during the summer when I was 16 and 17, I worked down for the state. What they done, they raised multiflora roses in a great big place down there, and they had to get the weeds out of them. There'd be 8 rows. Oh my God, they just went on, you know, just like soybeans.
Why
you know?
did they raise those?
They said it was a living fence.
It most certainly is.
Yeah, and they didn't realize at the time that it was going to take over the country.
Yeah.
They thought they really had something at the time.
Right.
And you get a spoon, a big tablespoon, you know, and you'd reinforce the handle of it, and you'd tie it all up, and then you'd sharpen the edge, and that would be the way you'd spoon them out. You'd spoon the weeds out.
Wow.
And you'd have one guy on one side and one guy on the other.
Now, did you wear a glove or anything? Because, oh my gosh, all those...
Hell no, you didn't. You didn't even wear a shirt. You just got brown as
my.
a berry, you know. And 75 cents an hour, $6 a day.
Wow.
Get paid once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn
But
Steve
there were 2
Jobs.
guys. You sat on a little bitty thing about like this, and you'd scoot your butt along, you know, and you may go, you know, depending on how fast you were, you know, it just took a while to go through all those.
Who worked down there with you?
I had
Was it Daryl Johanning's brother?
Yeah.
Wilford Johann.
And his dad kept
right.
the spoon from his boy.
He sure
Really?
did.
Really?
He still got it.
He
yeah.
still got the spoon.
Fun.
Yeah, and
Now, did you drive down there? Did you ride your bikes?
So you'd walk up to you know where Western Auto is, where their furniture store is along the side.
Yeah.
They had a little place there that used to be right there below the post office, and it was about a 10 by 12, and that's where that was kind of his office. And you'd go up there in the morning, and then he would take in a pickup truck with a hood thing over the back of it. You'd all climb in it, and down you'd go.
Wow.
And then, boy, you talk about a long day.
Now, I guess you packed a lunch.
You sure did.
Yeah.
And and you'd work from 8 to 5. Man, was that a long day. And
8 to 5.
but then you'd always glad to hear that horn honk. You knew you was time. It was hell, but I tell you what, there was no jobs around.
Yeah.
You know, and felt kind of pretty good.
Well,
you know, I had
yeah.
a job, you know, and boy, you wait for the 4th of the month because that damn check was coming in, you know.
So
hell
you
yeah.
probably worked, what, June, July,
June,
and
July,
August?
and August,
Okay.
and then sometimes they'd let a few guys work in September, right before school started.
Uh-huh.
So I always did that because I knew in October I'd get a check for about 3 days. You know, that was always a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, then you started playing basketball after that.
Yeah, sure.
So you couldn't hardly do it.
No, no, that's right.
Because that was
Yeah.
probably just a summer job, though.
Oh,
'cause
yeah,
you got-
definitely a summer job. Sure was. yeah. So that was a fun time too.
Well, yeah.
It really was. Yeah.
Did you? When did you start playing basketball young? I mean, how young?
Yeah. Oh, we started about the 5th, 6th grade.
Sixth grade.
6th grade, probably.
Yeah.
We was really bad. we were really bad. I tell you what, but bless their poor coach's heart.
But you guys got better.
Well, a little better. Yeah. As we went
Well, yeah, because
on.
you went to high school. Didn't you guys go to? You were 26-0.
29 and 2.
29 and 2.
29 and 2. Wow.
Yeah, that was in my junior year. We was pretty good. We sure was.
Who's on your team? Who's starting five?
Jim McDaniel, me, and Fred Vincebacker, and Jim Gilhouse, and Bob Gilhouse. They were
Really?
Brothers?
cousins.
No,
Cousins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. We had a pretty good team, and it was that was a fun year.
So when did you start playing varsity?
Well, I was fortunate enough to, because it was a pretty small,
Yeah.
small place, you know. But I got to play on the A team, they called
Right.
it, for 3 years,
Did you?
Wow.
which was a pretty big deal.
Well, yeah.
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 Was that Coach Sharp the whole time?
No, there was Coach Sharp left after my sophomore year, and then there was a couple others.
Jim Morris
Jim
was one.
Morris and Jim Spencer, that his name was. That was my junior year, and then my senior year.
His mom said they could never keep. They didn't have to mow any grass. All the boys in town always came and shot baskets
My
in their
God, yeah, we
backyard.
always
Wear it down.
We
huh?
always
never had any
we always
grass.
had a goal, basketball goal. That we'd have so
you
many
could-
kids over there. Sometime we'd act like we had a tournament. You know, there was probably 12, 14 kids. You know, and we'd be 3 on a team. You know,
Sure.
we'd have a tournament. You know, yeah, I tell you, it was a wonderful time. It was a fun time growing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really was.
Well, did you went 29 and 2? You said, and that was your senior year.
No, it's my junior.
That was your junior year. Was your senior year any?
Senior year was a disaster. All
Oh,
our
okay.
good players.
Oh, graduated.
Graduated.
Yes, sure was.
Well, I know. I've seen pictures of the City Hall. That's where you played all those games,
Sure
right?
was.
That place was packed.
It sure was. Yes, it was.
I heard Grandpa get a little agitated in the.
Yeah. And I tell you what, guys, what they done right after the Second World War, they would have. This is before I was playing, of course. They would have tournaments, and they'd do it during the day. Thursday and Friday. During the day, they would have
Really?
tournaments. See, this is, nobody had any gas or anything. Still couldn't do it. You know, everything was still just really right. People would come over and people would put the ball players up in their houses.
Really?
Yeah. Mom even had a couple of kids from Union.
Really?
Mind you.
Was that too far to drive for the gas? Wow.
And see, there was hardly any buses. People would maybe drive them over, you know, that
Sure.
kind of deal. But they would play. You get off school going
Yeah.
see the game. It was
Yeah.
it was so cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah, all the whole
seeing
school
the
got to
teams
go.
play in the morning, at 9:30 in the morning. You know,
Yeah.
that was so cool. Then you quit and you go back on the afternoon. And then they have a night one. Boy, they had some big tournaments. They would probably have. They may have 20 teams there. I don't
Oh
know,
my
but a bunch of them.
That was
you
at
know.
City Hall.
Yeah, yeah.
You paid people like Ellsbury. I went to Ellsbury on the and spent night up there because I was a cheerleader.
Yeah, that was.
And you guys were all put up in houses
Yeah,
too.
we sure was. That was kind of cool.
And people would have you stay with them.
Was that City Hall? Was that a WPA project?
Sure
It
was.
I wondered about that.
So
WPA
was the middle
project.
school.
Was it?
The grade school.
The grade school is WPA
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, darn. Okay. Were there any teachers you remember in school that stick out?
Well, I remember Mr. Sassman. I always liked him a lot, and he done citizenship and that kind of stuff, you know, and current event stuff. I always liked him. And
Miss Glauder, I guess.
Mrs. Glauder, yes, Miss Glauder. Yes.
Miss Glauder.
She was the superintendent, and she ruled with an iron hand, and everybody's afraid to go and talk to her.
And you like Miss Snyder.
I never had her.
Oh, you didn't
but,
have
no,
her?
I sure did.
Oh,
Well, actually, I think you
her.
had a teacher that I had, Miss Stalin.
Stalins?
Uh-huh.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, I had Mrs. Stalins when I was in the 6th grade.
I had her when I was in 4th or 5th grade.
Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was down below the ground down there in the old building, of course, you know. And she was a sweet person. She really was. So you had her too? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was 4th grade. I had her.
Yeah.
Think of it.
Tell them about your first grade teacher.
Oh yeah, my first grade teacher was Mrs. Hook, and me not being much of a scholar, we were lined up in our little things for reading,
Oh, yeah.
and she wanted me to. I couldn't get I. I didn't know what. She turned around.
Oh, no.
I'll never forget that. She turned around the blackboard. She couldn't understand
had it with you.
why I couldn't do I. I tell you, that stuck with me. I'm not kidding.
I bet you never forgot I again.
That was funny. Bless her heart.
Now, how big were your classes? Were they single grade classes, or did you have any double ups?
No,
No.
they were all single
They were all
grade.
single grade.
They used to call it, if we had too many, they call it the overflow. You know, that's what it was. May had 2 classes of 3rd grade,
Okay.
maybe 2 classes of 4th grade. But I tell you what, things are so different there. We used to have, what you do, you raise money for your class. You'd have where everybody brings stuff and you'd sell it. You know, at recess.
Really?
You know? Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and so everybody put their stuff out here, you know, and then when the bell rings, see, I didn't have any no machines or nothing.
Yeah.
So
Right.
everybody would come in there and everybody would buy this and that, you know, cupcakes and all that crap, you know.
Uh-huh.
Maybe raise $20, you know, and that was a big deal. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
You can almost buy the gas to go to St. Louis, maybe, or do something for the room, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the way they done it then, you know. That was so cool.
Well, it's amazing anybody had money to buy.
I know.
Yeah,
Well, there were
really.
rich people in
I
Sullivan
know.
even then.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the people that bought stamps. You know, I was buy war bonds, you know, that stuff back then. Boy, I could come up with 10 cents every once in a while, you know, because you do so many and you get 1875 bond, it just took forever, you know. But then I always, Suzanne and Sylvia tried to get $0.25 a week. I tell you what, that was so, that was really, I couldn't believe it, you know, if I had that kind of money to do,
Right.
you know.
That's something.
Yeah, it is.
Well, then, when did you meet Mom? Did you know her in high school?
No, I didn't.
I guess
I
we
just
do of
know
each
her
other.
when I seen her, you know. And she always seemed, she was 1 year ahead of me, and she always seemed to be kind of untouchable, you know. Because I was nothing, you know. And she was always, you know, out. She was a cheerleader and all that stuff, you know, and everything, you know. And she had boyfriends here and boyfriends there, and I never did do any dating. Never had a car. Never had any money. Couldn't do anything. Dad would have killed me if I would have been out after 9 o'clock anyway. So it